This guide will show you how to use Flubaroo, which is a script, within Google Forms, which is within Google Docs, in order to grade your quizzes that you have created within Google Forms. What you'll want to do is go to docs.google.com and you'll want to sign in as you normally do when you are creating a document within Google Docs. Then what you want to do is find the quiz that you have already created and click on that particular title. Remember that it will generate for you in a spreadsheet when you first click on it. We want to go in and make a quick little edit before we actually send out the quiz and start using Flubaroo script in order to grade it. One thing you'll want to make sure that students have is the ability to put in their first and last name. We want to make certain that students are putting their information just as we would expect them to put their names at the top of their papers before turning them in. Another option that you have is to have students enter their email address as one of your questions within your quiz, and this will allow you later to email out the grades to those students at that email address. So what you're going to do in order to make sure that you have those two questions is click on Form, that's up at the top in between the Tools tab and the Help tab. When you do, you're going to choose Edit Form, which will allow you to get in and make sure that you have added the first and last name question and the email address question. You'll want to click on Add Item in the top left-hand corner, and from there you want to choose a text question. Once you've done that, you want to make your question first and last name and check the box to make it a required question. You want to do the same thing with the email address. Down at the very bottom where it says you can view the published form here, you'll want to click on that so that you can actually go through and take the quiz yourself. This will then generate your answers in the spreadsheet form. Now you're ready to install the script and send out that live form to your students so that they can also take the quiz. In order to generate the script for Flubaroo, you'll have to click on the Tools tab to the left of Form, and then you want to click on Script Gallery, and this will allow you to search through the scripts that are available within Google Forms that will allow you to be able to find Flubaroo. The easiest way to do so is to type Flubaroo and click on Search, and this will pull up for you anything that has the word Flubaroo in it. Once it comes up in the search, then you want to click on Install so that you can install it within your spreadsheet form. So it will take a little bit of time, maybe 2 minutes, but it will show you on the computer that it is installing. This is only installing a script within the spreadsheet. It is not installing something to your computer. You're not downloading a particular piece of software or anything of that nature, but give it time so that it will install. And once it's installed, you're going to see this screen, which is the authorization required screen, and what you need to do is click on Authorize down at the bottom so that you're authorizing the use of the script. And you'll have a screen come up with authorization status, so you can now run the script, which you can then click Close and it will close that window. Then it will show you this window indicating that Flubaroo has been installed, and then you can click on the Close button or the X at the top of that particular window. Now you're going to notice the word Flubaroo is up beside of the word Help in the tabs. So if you click on Flubaroo, you can now go into Grade the Assignment. The first step once you start the grading process is to select the grading options for each one of the questions that you've asked. The questions for email address and first and last name are simply identifiers of the student, so make sure you select that instead of choosing points. You want to go in and choose from 1 to 5 points based on the degree of difficulty of that particular question. You can also choose to skip grading on, say, a paragraph text or an essay question so that you can go in and assign points specifically to what you have as your parameters within your rubric for grading. So once you have chosen those, you want to click on Continue to go to Step 2. The next thing that you have to do is choose the particular submission that you want to use as the answer key. Remember, I had you go to the live form and actually take the quiz yourself. So you're going to select your submission so that that one is going to be used as your grading key. Then you will continue to the next page and it will say grading is complete and a new worksheet has been created for you. This is not a sheet that is intended to be modified, so make sure that you keep that in mind. You can click on View Grades down at the bottom to look at the spreadsheet that is generated with the Flubaroo script. It will give you a summary in the left-hand corner of possible points available, the average points that were accrued, how many submissions you had, and the number of low-scoring questions. It will also have a list of the submission time for each student, and because you asked them their first and last name, you will see that generated in this particular spreadsheet. And underneath all of their responses, you're going to notice that in one of the rows it will say % correct. So you can actually go in and see, highlighted in yellow, for example, what would you do if you ever met Dracula in this quiz, was the lowest scoring submission. So that would be, of course, a question that I would want to either throw out and not count against the students, or go back and reteach and retest if it is a low scoring or I have quite a few low scoring questions within that quiz. You want to make certain that you go to the File tab and that you download this particular spreadsheet, because unless you choose to regrade it again, you will not generate the spreadsheet again. I like to put mine in a PDF form so that I just have the form to look at and use as proof of student grades, and I use those scores also to go in and put those into our NCY system. Now if I go back to the Flubaroo tab, I'm going to be able to see that Grade Assignment has now changed to Regrade Assignment. So if I need to go in and regrade anything, if I have gone in and edited the form, maybe thrown out a question, that sort of thing, I can do so at that time. It will regenerate that spreadsheet for me that I can go to File and download as a PDF or as an Excel if I so choose. I can also now go to Flubaroo and I can choose to email the grades. This is of course optional, but if the students have entered their email addresses, now you're going to be able to send them out the grades. So I click on Flubaroo and email grades, and it will bring up this screen. This will allow me to then choose the question from my quiz that indicates the student's email address is there. It automatically found email address. I didn't have to scroll down and find that particular question, but if it did not select that question, then you'll want to pull down the menu and choose email address. You have the ability to also check a box to include the list of questions and scores. This of course depends on how much information you want to give out to the students. If other students have not yet taken that particular quiz, you might not want to include that just yet. You may also choose whether or not to include an answer key for them to be able to see what the correct answer was and to modify their grades in the future by knowing what the correct answer would be. You also have an optional message to include in the email to give students some feedback about how they did. If we had a number of low scoring questions, we may need to study next time, or I may be emailing them to let them know that we're going to do a reteach and retest. So once I have selected those options, I'm going to then click on Continue, and that will then email out the grades to those students. The Flubaroo tab also allows you to go in and choose View Report, which will generate for you graphs of how the students have done, how many points they scored on average, and how many submissions you have. And that data can help you see how students have done on that particular assessment. And you'll notice that you can click on Email Me Report, and it will email you the report of how the students have done, so that you can have that for verification and for your own records. So that in a nutshell is Flubaroo. If you have any more questions, feel free to go to flubaroo.com and go through the step-by-step process, or feel free to email me at toddaedd@gmail.com. Thanks and have a great day.